What's up, all you beautiful people? Today I am going to be doing a review on HBO's The Last of Us. The long-awaited adaptation of the video game The Last of Us finally turned into an HBO TV show, which is pretty much the best case scenario you could have asked for this. I know that video game adaptations are kind of a little bit of a hit or miss. I don't even know if it's a hit or miss. It's like a damn near always miss. But I'm happy to say that this one is not a miss. This show is great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with, per usual, with the spoiler-free section. Basically, the show is a adaptation of a video game. Probably most people watching my videos right now probably haven't played this game. If you play video games at all, definitely highly recommend. This is one of the greatest video games of all time with one of the most amazing stories you will see in video games. If you haven't played this and you play video games, go play this game. HBO, I think they found out that they were picking this up and making a show of it 4 or 5 years ago, I believe. The director and screenwriter, I believe, Neil Druckmann, from the video game, they actually brought on to work on the TV show. That's always a good sign when you actually have somebody from the original content moving over to make the new content. I think this show, so far, just for the first episode here, is really good and did a damn near perfect adaptation. They did what HBO does best, and they brought to life something that wasn't popular before, turned it into something and created a world that's really believable. It feels like you're in The Last of Us from the video game. Like almost every aspect about it, they just hit dead on, from what Joel was wearing, brought back so much nostalgia for me, to the way that Boston, the city that it takes place in initially, looks exactly like the video game. The way that Bella Ramsey looks, she looks just like Ellie. The world is gritty, the world is horrible. Nobody's having a good time in this world. Everybody's just surviving, just trying to get by, and it is really depressing. From all of those aspects, I think they really nail the show. I'm excited to kind of see where it continues to go. If it keeps up at this standard, the show's gonna be amazing. But we are only one episode in. I don't know how many episodes they're supposed to be for the whole season. I'm gonna go into spoiler territory. Put that up on the screen somewhere right around here. Is a zombie show, if you kind of want to put it that way. So if you're really not into zombies, maybe it's not for you, but it's really not about the zombies or the infected, as they call them. It's more about the relationship between Joel, the main character, and Ellie is the girl that he ends up meeting and finding 20 years in the future. So the show kind of opens up. Man, it brought back so many just sad memories from playing the opening of this game, because the opening of the TV show, just like the game, opens in present day. Well, it's kind of weird. They changed up the date. So it starts in 2003, and then once we do a 20-year jump, it's in 2023. So it's like kind of current day for us. But it starts out in 2003 with an opening intro sequence of Joel living with his daughter, Sarah. I like this too in the show because they kind of draw it out more. They make it a bit longer than the intro of the video game. So you kind of get some more time to spend with Joel and his daughter and get some more connections and build that relationship a bit more, whereas in the game it's fairly quick. Still hits you like a train, but it's pretty quick. So then you move along, and it's basically just them kind of going about a day in their lives and, you know, kind of establishing their relationship, and then shit goes sideways, as you would expect. So everything goes south pretty quick in this world for when the zombies take over. Start out in Austin, Texas, I believe, is where everything's happening. You slowly just start to see all the, you know, the signs, you know, jets flying overhead, people going a little crazy, not as many people out on the streets, people closing their doors because they're seeing stuff on the news that's freaking them out. And Sarah is kind of walking around, and then she finds a zombie in their next door neighbor eating somebody, and so she runs out. Joel happens to pull up right at that time, kills the zombie. She sees her dad murk somebody for the first time, which is always intense. Just every single thing in this opening sequence, whether it's from building those happy moments between Joel and his daughter Sarah, or it's having these horrific moments like where Joel has to beat somebody to death with a pipe wrench in front of her. It all hits so hard and so well. That's why I was so excited that HBO did this show, because I felt like they were the only people that could handle creating such an emotional story. So far they've done it. But anyways, they are trying to run and get out of town. They do everything like so one for one for the game. When you're playing the game, you sit in the backseat of the truck, kind of from Sarah's perspective, and it's just a outward view of the front windshield. And they did that in the show, which was amazing. It was so fun to see because it just brought back that much more nostalgia. So they end up getting out, they're running from zombies, people are crashing everywhere, a plane falls down, it explodes down in the middle of this town. There's just all sorts of things happening. Basically, Joel and Sarah kind of get separated from Joel's brother, Tommy. A military guy finds them, saves them from some zombie that's chasing them, shoots the zombie, and then he radios into superiors, and they basically tell him to shoot shoot Joel and his daughter. I don't know why or why that's how that works out, but that's what he does. He shoots at them. Joel kind of just gets a little bit nicked on the side. They fall down a hill. Tommy comes up, saves them before the military guy is able to finish them off and shoot them. But then you do the horrible pan over to Sarah sitting on the ground with a bullet in her gut. This scene, it's just as intense as it was in the video game. I think they did almost like a frame by frame recreation of it, because I felt more sad because every time I watched it, I played through the game probably like 4 times in my life. And every single time I watch this scene, it gets me. It makes me so sad. It feels so heartbroken for Joel, because it's all he's got. It's just him and his daughter. And Tommy, I guess. Yeah, she ends up dying in his arms. And then it's just a hard cut, 20 years in the future. And now Joel is living the hard, rugged life in Boston in a, what is it called? Like a military zone? I don't know. They basically have a big giant wall where all the people are living in Boston. Instantly off the bat, they show you just how rugged and how horrible the world of The Last of Us is, and how just any of the good people that were around, they didn't survive. This is 20 years in the future. It's not like it's been a year or two. Any of the good people that did exist after the initial outbreak, they're all gone. Everybody's at best in a gray area. It's just a really horrible dystopian world, and there's all sorts of like moss grown over, buildings have fallen over, people are just scraping by. It's just kind of led by this little military group called Fedra, I believe. And then there is this rebellion group called the Fireflies. I don't remember exactly what their motivation is. I think just to create a new order or something like that. I don't know exactly, but they're basically fighting the Fedra people, the military police. Then all of the civilians are kind of caught in the middle of it. And kind of the whole crux of the story is you get into the moment where you meet Ellie. Well, I guess more specifically when Joel and Ellie meet. Ellie is this, I'm gonna guess 13 or 14-year-old girl who has been bitten, but it's been 3 weeks and nobody ever lasts more than a day before they turn. Kind of like the tease and the hint that they're doing is that she is kind of like a cure. So the Firefly people find her and they decide they're going to take her over to Portland or something like that, because they have a medical facility, hospital kind of set up, and they're going to try to see if they can find the cure out of her. That's kind of what the whole idea is. Joel somehow gets brought in with the task of taking her over because the Fireflies just murked. I think almost all of them die except for like 1 or 2. And I think even the people that did survive were both shot and injured. Joel somehow gets the job of doing that. That's kind of what the show is about. So like if you're not super into the zombie, like the slight bit of horror kind of idea of a show, watch it for the relationship between Joel and Ellie, because this is probably one of the greatest relationships, and it's for sure one of the greatest relationships in all of video games, but even in IPs in general. I think that this has got to be like a top 10 relationship between 2 characters for me ever, and that's what makes this show good, is the relationship between, saying relationship way too much, but that's how they build it between the 2 of them. I was watching another video that somebody did of a review of the show, and it brought it to light and made me think about it too, because I was mentioning to my roommate, we were watching it last night. They kind of rushed the whole introduction of her showing that she got bit. So basically they're sitting there, a guard finds them when they're sneaking out to leave and like go start transporting her over to Portland. And a guard finds them and they're sitting out there, and the guard has to do their part of their protocol is they have this little thing that kind of like nicks your neck, lets you know if you're infected or not, turns red if you're infected, green if you're safe. They go through Joel and Tess, and obviously it's green. Things start ramping up a little bit because Ellie, clearly she's infected, so it's going to come up as red, but she has a healed scar that's 3 weeks old and she hasn't turned yet. She stabs him in the leg and Joel beats him to death basically, and then she kind of like needs to explain what's going on, and it literally happens in 30 seconds, 45 seconds maybe, where she's just like, I have my arm here with the scar and it's 3 weeks old, I haven't turned, everybody turns in a day. And they're like, okay, we got to get out of here, we got to run and whatever. Whereas in the game, it was like a whole moment. Like they all sat there. Tess ends up pulling a gun to Ellie's head and says, you better explain what's happening right now. And she has to give the whole rundown of the fact that she might be immune to whatever this disease is. Granted, it is just the end of the first episode, so maybe it picks up instantly and then they start talking about that in the beginning of episode 2. But I don't know, for people that haven't watched this and wanting to introduce them to this world and everything, I felt like that was a very important moment for them to need to show new people coming into this universe. They didn't. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, hopefully people are still sucked in by everything that's happened anyways, because this show has a lot of potential and I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm excited that we have another week-to-week show to watch, because I mentioned about Game of Thrones in my top 5 IPs of the year. It was so fun to be able to come back and sit down every Sunday night and watch an HBO show, and that's what we're going to have with The Last of Us here. It seems like it's going to be up to par for HBO standards, which is all I could ask for. with this show. I'm gonna be doing these reviews week to week. I'm gonna be trying to release them, I don't know what time, but on Mondays after the show premieres. So that way I kind of get it fresh right off the bat every single week. If you're interested, I'll be linking the videos right here. I'm gonna do this every damn time. I'm gonna fuck it up. But I'm gonna be linking the videos right here. Obviously, we're only on episode 1, so I got nothing to link now, but I'll put it in one of my older videos or something. If you wanna go along on this adventure with me and check out The Last of Us on HBO, I'm gonna be here for it. With that being said, thank you. Oh, also, give me a like and subscribe.